So, I'm going to call this episode 2.5 of Struggle to Suburbs. I'm just going to be briefly touching on why I call where I was staying when I was in foster care an orphanage. Because technically, like people know orphanages don't really actually exist anymore, but I think they do. They were just rebranded. So, what do I mean by this? Let me explain. So, basically, first and foremost, let me just give you a basic rundown of this place. It was Catholic run and privately funded. There was a heavy nun presence. There was a guilt culture. There was a severe lack of funding. It was kind of secretive, a little secluded and out of the way. They didn't really let us out much, and we didn't have cable or internet. We didn't always have enough resources, and our curriculum was homeschooled. We did not leave for school. We did school on site, and we never left, pretty much. So I identified a lot with TV orphanage depictions, like the stuff that you'd see in movies or in, like, just Hollywood depictions of being an orphan or being in foster care, the way that they sort of amplified the experience. That's kind of what it actually was like for the kids that were there. The only difference is a lot of those kids on TV are placed there unofficially off the books. And I was placed there officially, like by the state. I don't actually really know how that works. It really was a blur for me. I really do believe it was just a combination of like familial request, where my school was, where I lived, and other just like minor factors that unfortunately blessed me with the secluded church in the woods. you know. I never at any point felt unsafe, but I definitely wanted to be somewhere else. But there really was nowhere else for a kid my age to go on their own. So sometimes you'll hear me talk about being chronically ill. I just wasn't that great at keeping up with my care yet. We didn't quite know all the things, like everything. We knew some things. We didn't know everything that was wrong with me, and I just wasn't very good at staying on my special diet and stuff. And I wasn't on the right meds for my joint and organ damage, so it just wasn't safe to live by myself. So getting emancipated wasn't really an option for me. So yeah. But that's the thing is I didn't really have any other options. None of my family members wanted me because they prioritized wealth over family, but I never felt unsafe there anyway. But while I never felt in danger, I definitely did not have everything I needed all the time because it was privately funded. It sounds fancy until you realize that private funding is not always completely stable. So we were underfunded. Like it was a feast and famine sort of thing. Like we would go and have like really nice things sometimes, and then other times we would have like almost nothing, bare bones, like Dollar Tree. We would be going to Dollar Tree with the staff's personal money. We were funded by donations from rich families. This sounds crazy. So it was a Catholic orphanage. We were funded by donations from big name Catholic families. I don't know how else to explain it. That's how they explained it to us as kids, but big Catholic families that would fly in for Easter and Christmas and just like all those holidays that like they would have long masses for, and we would have to sit for the church ceremony with them. But as we would sit through the church ceremony after we would sit through the church ceremony with them, we would be the ushers. And this is so true. Like I think back on it, and it's actually like really weird, and I feel like really weird about it. Like I don't know, but we were the ushers, and we were the waiters and waitresses, and we made the food sometimes, and we served these big families, and we did little like on the first day of Christmas, we did little dances. I don't know. I don't know. It could have been fine. It probably was fine, but just was like, it felt like, the way they framed it to us, it wasn't like it was weird. It wasn't like weird like that, but it was more or less like we were literally dancing and like serving them to get the funding, is literally what it felt like. It felt like if we didn't do well enough on Christmas, oh, well, you're not going to get like good presents and you're not going to have good enough funding till Easter. We're not going to eat very good until Easter. You know what I mean? We're going to just be eating basic Gordon food service frozen dinners until Easter if you're not very nice to them. You know what I mean? Like it was very they dangled guilt and shame over our heads and in service to like you know, I don't know. It was just a weird dynamic where I know you're absolutely supposed to respect people and honor people, but I don't know. We were just like little kids. We were kids. I don't know. We're kids. We're supposed to be having fun, not like being waiters and waitresses. And like, sure, I was a teenager, but some of these kids were as young as 8. But yeah, the place wasn't secretive in a sinister way, so to speak, but you would only know about it if you knew about it already. We didn't really get any visitors, and I tried to volunteer there in college, but they didn't really let me. And I don't know if it's because they didn't like me or because they were like trying to keep it under like I don't know what it was, but they strategically ghosted me like for weeks. Like it took we were going back and forth for literally like 2 or 3 months. So I don't know what that was all about because I never ended up getting to volunteer. We didn't really go on outings either, as well as not getting visitors. Like in the whole 18 months of me being there, we went on maybe 4 outings. The rest of the time, I mean, we were spending the 4 walls. There was either the 4 outings or the 4 walls, baby. And we had no cable, no internet, no devices, no computer, nothing. We couldn't have watches, we couldn't have phones, we couldn't, nothing like that. So, like I was saying earlier, how I think they just kind of rebranded orphanages. They rebranded asylums into mental hospitals. They just painted the walls and changed the signs. So literally the same thing happened here. This actual facility, I guess, so I don't know what it actually is, but this facility actually literally used to be an actual orphanage. Uh, that's what it literally was before in the 1920s. So argue with me now. But there's literally nuns next door across the street and they work upstairs with the younger children. So if that's not orphanage, I don't know what is. A lot of these kids are orphans. The only reason that the nuns worked with the younger children was because they felt like the kids that were older had like higher stakes. They had more trauma. So they put people with like actual letters after their name, you know, like people studying psychology with the teenagers. But everybody's allowed to claim an identity. But as soon as I say I stayed in an orphanage, they're like, yeah, they didn't exist. I'm not letting anybody take that from me because literally nothing about that place said anything other than orphanage. Catholic run, private funded, guilt culture, lack of funding, secret, secluded, no cable, no internet. Like, come on, homeschooled. That is an orphanage. They just call them something different now. We were homeschooled, but we were also homeschooled during the summer. So during the summer, we weren't doing anything fun. We were literally just doing school and church. We were doing school and going to church and Bible study, which is fine, but tell me how that's not a Catholic orphanage. I think that they say just because they slapped the foster care system's like state ward official like label on it that we can't call it an orphanage anymore. But I think that like that coldness, that cold connotation associated with the word orphanage. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I stayed in an orphanage for yeah, I did. And I won't let anyone take that from me because I know what I've been through. Most people, this is like a lot of people are desensitized to even the thought or the concept of any of the stuff that I've even been through. Like they're desensitized to it because they've seen too much of it on TV. Like I know I say I identify with the Hollywood experience, but I feel like when you see things on TV so much, you forget that they're real and that they really happen. It's like me identifying with it because I've been through it versus somebody gawking at it because they've never seen it before. And on an unrelated note, something that was really weird when I got out about like 10 to 15 different genres of music existed. I had literally never heard Megan the Stallion before. Isn't that funny? It actually took me close to close to like 5 or 6 years to even like get caught up with pop culture. Like, because I feel like so much happened in the year and a half to 2 years that I was like away. So I got to experience a whole lot of things for the first time all at once. And it was kind of nice, you know? New social medias had been popularized. There were new celebrities, new types of music, new movies, all types of things I got to enjoy, you know what I mean? So, what do you think? Did they just rebrand orphanages as things like group homes, long term residentials, boarding schools, and other places that the state will forcefully put children, the same way that asylums were just rebranded into mental hospitals? Or do you think I shouldn't be allowed to call where I stayed with the nuns an orphanage? Literally doing a whole child dance bit for funding. I think no matter how you slice it, things like that never really go away. They just get harder and harder to detect. They might clean up their practices a little bit, but they're not going anywhere. Let me know what you think down below. And if you want to hear more thoughts like this, go ahead and like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I am dropping new videos whenever I have new thoughts. And now I want you to go and have the best, most blessed day. Bye.